Good afternoon. We have all had a worst day of our life. Right? We have all had a worst day of our life. Something just popped into your head. I hope it continues to be the worst day of your life. I do. And I am licensed for group therapy, but we're not going to do it today. And you remember, on that worst day of your life, if there was somebody who showed up and stood next to you, lent you some of their strength, let you know they didn't judge you, and cared for you, you'll never forget them, right? You'll never forget them. And there was probably somebody who showed up and maybe they kind of botched it a little, said something stupid, but you forgive them too, because they showed. And then, ouch, there are people who should have shown up and didn't. Right? We don't forget them either. We need to forgive them. But we don't forget. My challenge to you in terms of your own resilience, and as you've heard over and over and over again today, the importance of community and connectedness and caring, is that you learn today how to ask for the help so you don't have to suffer alone as you struggle, and that you can be there for other people. So I want to talk about who gets back up. Thank you. You're not getting paid enough today. Yeah. Just gained the attention of the crowd. So I want to talk about who gets back up. Stoicism was mentioned today by the general. And a lot of times people distort the concept of Stoicism and to make it look like, nothing bothers me, I don't feel, I'm Teflon, baby. That's not resilience and that's not strength. 1, it's a lie. 2, it doesn't last. 3, it doesn't give anything to anybody else. Resilience doesn't mean I don't feel. Resilience means I acknowledge the fact that sometimes life knocks me flat, but within me, above me, and around me are the resources for me to get back up. That's resilience. Life is hard, but if we accept that, it becomes a little less so. So I'm going to be really brave, and I'm going to talk to somebody who avoided military involvement, but you guys protect the right to do so, and want to talk about this person, okay? This goes back beyond some of your time, but do you know who this is? Okay, Muhammad Ali. He was the greatest. He was named as the most recognized face on the planet during his prime. He was a phenomenal athlete. He was articulate. He was lovable. He was a poet. Now, this may shock and amaze you, but I was going to lick Joe Frazier. He was amazing. He could float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Not only was he effective, but he was pretty as he did it. So when we think about Muhammad Ali, that's what we think about, right? However, he was also really known for his ability to take a punch and get back up. And get back up. And get back up. And sometimes he was trying to be pretty, and that's why he ended up this way, but he got back up. So who gets back up and who doesn't? Some boxers were known for having a glass chin, one good punch and they were down and they were done. Who's going to get up and who isn't? So I've looked at the research and have found some common characteristics of those who do get up, because I'm amazed at how some do and some don't. So you guys are pretty good at, the history of pugilism. Anybody here take philosophy? Did you pass it? No. I saw a lot of eyes avoiding contact with the presenter at that point. There's a guy named Nietzsche who said, that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger. So do you believe it? Again, I see head nods, I see head shakes, I see eyes avoiding contact with the presenter. Okay. I think it's sometimes. Sometimes. Not everybody. So I'm amazed at my introduction talked about my history in crisis response. I've gone out many times after bank robberies, and I'm always surprised at how the same people who seemingly experience the same optical receptivity stimuli, but experience the same thing, respond differently. One person will be fetal position under the desk, sucking their thumb. One will be crying. One will be giggling. One will be cussing. And one will, can we go to the mall? And perhaps 24 hours later, they'll all be sitting in different seats, doing it differently. I think people fall into three buckets. I'm going to call them victims and survivors, and then I made up a word, we'll call them surthrivers. Okay? For some people, a traumatic incident, a series of traumatic incidents or stressors, or some personal characteristic is allowed to define them. To define them. Best example I have for this is that on the very rare occasions when my wife can convince me to put a hammer into this hand, this thumb is in mortal danger because I suck at that stuff. And when I very predictably smack this poor thumb for about 24 to 72 hours, it defines me. Seems like everything I do revolves around this throbbing digit. Getting dressed, typing, driving, everything bumps that thumb. Anybody identify with that? Okay. Okay? It's like when I look in the mirror, all I see is thumb. It's a minute percentage of my total body mass, but all I see is thumb. It's me. Now, sometimes that can happen to us related to an incident, right? Where something bad happens, and I'm not minimizing the incident. It's worse than my thumb. But if we allow an incident to define us, we become a victim. And so I can become a victim of Afghanistan. I can become a victim of the economic downturn, victim of child abuse, victim of a rape, victim of breast cancer. And I drive through life in a very small world, in park, only looking in the rearview mirror. That really shrinks your world, doesn't it? And it shrinks it into a really toxic place. And isn't it amazing how there's some other folks who may experience the same, and I'm not putting them down. They're human beings, they're doing the best that they can. But there's some other people who experience the same thing and get back up, and sometimes get back seemingly quickly, and they will self-describe as a survivor of breast cancer, a survivor of Afghanistan, survivor of a bad boss, survivor of, who would you rather talk to at the next party? And they drive through life in drive, looking out the windshield, and of course checking the rearview mirror because it did really happen. Being a survivor does not mean it didn't happen. It means acknowledging it and getting up. And then there's another category, the surthrivers, who experience post-traumatic growth. I believe that was mentioned here, where they would, after the incident has happened, would say, man, that was awful. I never want to go through it again. It was horrible. But you know what? I'm better for it. And they would self-identify, and people who watch them would see it, and people who measure the stuff that measurers measure would say their life is now richer, they're more focused, they got rid of a bunch of crap, their relationships are better, they're living out their mission, and they're doing better. When you look at the trajectory of how folks do, and we've got the X and Y axis, I, in my naivete, kind of thought, okay, you've got your victims who stay stuck along the bottom, very symptomatic perhaps, and you have your survivors who get up kind of quickly, and I thought the survivors were just survivors who went further. And I found out that wasn't true. As you look at it, you tend to find that the folks who become survivors remain symptomatic a bit longer because they have the courage and the will to wrestle with, how do I make sense out of this? They lean into their pain rather than avoid it, and they ask themselves the deep existential questions of why and how and what do I do now? And so they may hurt for longer and then take off. Interesting, huh? So let's look at who's going to fall into which bucket. I took this picture while responding to the Boston Marathon bombing because, anybody here from Boston? No? Okay. Amazingly resilient city. How do you get a city of 3 million to go on voluntary lockdown? You can't get the fifth graders to shut up for 5 minutes, right? And they did. It was creepy. But wherever you went, you heard people saying they picked the wrong city. I can't run to the corner today, but I'm going to run the marathon next year. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. They picked the wrong blankety blank blank city. Heard it over and over again. But I'm going to talk about 3 characteristics of those who do get up. Excuse me. 1, me, it's all about me, lots of drama about me. Anybody hear the word me? Me-centered people tend not to get up. You come to the end of me pretty quickly. And frankly, other people come to the end of your me way quicker. They find instead that people who get up have a belief in and a commitment to some cause that's bigger than me. They answer the why question. And so that can be a variety of things. I share with you belief in faith. To me, that's a pretty big cause, bigger than me. It can also be protect my country, protect my family, my career, provide for my family, patriotism. It can be a lot of those causes. It can be your faith integrated within those other things, but there's something bigger than me that helps me answer why am I here. I'll come back to it. 2, they find that people who isolate and stay there tend not to be as resilient as those who have access to and use, underline, and use social support. Now that doesn't mean that if you're by nature an introvert that you're doomed, or that if you get 1,000 likes every time you post on your social, you have it made. It's about quality of relationships, depth of relationships, not a lot of superficial ones. I'll come back. 3rd, if a tragedy happened to Bob today, please know, and you're saying, whoa, that's a bad one, what's his prognosis? How's he going to be doing in the future? What does that look like for him? Thank you. I will accept social support. Yeah. How's he going to be doing? This bad thing happened today. What does that look like for him? One of the best indicators is not just today, but it's also, how was I doing in the past before this bad thing happened? Did I have healthy, life-giving ways of dealing with frustration and fear and conflict and decision-making? And was I doing all the good self-care stuff that you learned in health class ahead of time? So it's kind of, I just got off crutches a week ago. So it's kind of like when I blew out my ankle, part of my prognosis was, how healthy was this leg before the accident happened, right? The same is true. If you look at these 3 factors, these are 3 great medications to take PRN when you're going through this awful thing and trying to recover from it. And they're all preventive. They're all things you can do ahead of time on a good day for when the bad happens. Let's go one by one. So again, not going to do group therapy, so this is a rhetorical question. But I want you to think, what's my mission? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? What do I want my grandbabies to say about me? What do I want my grandbabies to tell my grandbabies about me after I'm gone? I'm going to do a bajillion whats today. Why? Resilient people wrestle with this stuff, have answers for this stuff. Because when you're going through a really, really, really hard time, you say, why am I doing this again? Life's hitting you like a fire hose in the face. Why am I doing this again? You got to have a why. Otherwise, you hit snooze. And snooze, and snooze, right? So, why are you here? Being able to answer why helps you do the hard work. Helps you do the work to lean into your pain and to exercise a resilience plan. Okay, some of you took philosophy. Anybody here take British literature or see a lot of Disney movies? All right. Okay, so Rudyard Kipling wrote it in Jungle Book, and he said, the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. Wow, that fits this audience, doesn't it? So sometimes you look at a pack and you go, oh, wow, look at the superstars that are part of that pack. They're all so skilled, so well trained, it's going to be awesome. Or you look at, say, we had the, Andrews quartet here, and we went, wow, I've heard the soprano. She's amazing. So's the alto. The tenor's way up here, the bass is way down there. I can't wait to hear them because I've heard them. All the wolves in that pack are so strong, and then you hear them sing, and they blend. And it's like, holy smokes. The whole was greater than the sum of the parts. They made each other better. And then you look at each of those individuals and you say, not only was the strength of the pack the wolf, but the strength of the wolf was the pack. Iron sharpened iron. They made each other better. Resilient people are part of good packs. So you've heard over and over and over again, the quality of your relationships are so important for you to be able to get through hard things. We're going to talk about it again. So I'm going to challenge you to find people you trust. Picture one person you trust. As you do this, I see a few little smiles pop up. That's kind of a nice thing, isn't it? It's a warm feeling, picturing somebody you trust. My guess is that you trust them on 3 levels. I think trust has 3 levels: competence, character, and compassion. Competence. We tend to trust people that are good at stuff. Boy, does that mean something new to you, especially for you. You tend to trust people that are good at stuff. Anybody picture a knucklehead who screws up all the time? I'm guessing not. I hope not. Okay? We tend to trust people of character. We trust people who keep their promises, who have integrity, who what you say is what you get. They don't overpromise, underdeliver. They play by the rules. They follow established protocols and best practices. They say the same thing about you when you're not in the room as when you are, right? I hope you didn't picture somebody who's lying, cheating, stealing on you. And we trust compassion. We trust people that have an emotional investment in us such that they care about us, and they celebrate when we win, and they grieve with us when we don't. Without having to be all kumbaya and group hug stuff, okay? But, right? So my challenge to you as resilient people is to think about, are there 5 people who could be in my pack? I'm a dad, and I've told my kids a million times, you know, you become like the 5 people you hang out with most. Right? Anybody else hear that one growing up? Or you shared it too? Research says it's true. You become like the 5 people you hang out with most. I want to pick 5 people that go 3 for 3. You have 5 people where you trust their competence and their character and their compassion. Because you will be a stronger wolf if that's your pack. And as said before, it's great if there are people who do the same thing you do because nobody else really gets it. You guys operate on a different professional planet than the rest of us. But you also want to have some people on the outside so that you're not in an echo chamber. Right? So I'm going to encourage you to do that. I'm going to encourage you to do that. And then I'm going to flip it on you. And I'm going to say, hey, you know, when we think about trust, we always think about the other guy. What are you bringing to the potluck? If we were to do a scale of 10, you're a rock star, 1 is, oh baby, I wonder how those around me would rank my competence, my character, and my compassion. Because, with exceptions, those who are most trustworthy tend to be involved in trustworthy relationships. You need people who care enough about you to, 1, tell you when you have a beautiful smile, and 2, when you have spinach in your tea. And fully 13% of you just went like this. Right. You need support and feedback, because we need people who are rooting for us, that motivates us, that helps us, and it's pretty scary to be out there if you're not getting any feedback about how you're really doing. If you don't get feedback, you start to believe your own press. So, do you have 5 people who go 3 for 3 who can do that for you? Because this is the picture of a victim. And that's the experience of a victim. 3rd, healthy coping skills. Sorry you couldn't run today, General. Sorry. One of the smartest things that people do to bounce back or to get up from a difficult scenario is not do something stupid that makes it worse. Tragedies beget additional tragedies. Firefighters, fire safety can tell you that when they have to do recoveries rather than rescues, and especially if it's a recovery of a child, that they're at high risk for drunk driving charges, domestic violence, fist fights, people quitting, people screaming at civilians, and suicide. So just like law enforcement, when you have an accident, first thing you do is park the car at an angle, put on the lights, put out the flares or the cones to make sure one accident doesn't lead to another. Resilient people stop, pause, think I'm not terribly smart right now. And, all right, what would be the 3 dumbest things I could do right now? I'm going to stop, breathe, and make sure I don't do them. Because otherwise, one thing gets worse. What do people need to recover? Lots of research around this, and Dr. Marty talked about these in a different form. What do people need? First, they need safety. And so, as can be reasonably put into place, how do I now protect myself from this not happening again or reducing that likelihood? I need safety in relationships so that I can be real. Tragedy just happens and somebody says, "How you doing?" Don't say, "Fine." Saying fine isn't strong. Saying fine is chicken. Can you say, "Lousy, but I'll be okay"? That opens the door for conversation, doesn't it? They not only need safety, they need connectedness. We've covered that over and over and over again. They need calming. Yes, panic is contagious. Rage is contagious. So is calm. And when the people around are panicked, the strongest person in the room is the one who remains calm. Right? Kid gets hurt playing football, the little student medics can run out on the field. What does the doctor do? Purposefully, confidently, calmly, with resources, walks. If the doctor didn't walk, if the doctor stayed in the bleachers, they'd get beat up. If they ran, probably all the moms and dads would too. So calm. How can you send the message, especially if you're in leadership? Yes, this is awful. I'm tough enough to handle it. I paid attention in training. I care about you. We're going to get through it. Next, efficacy. After a tragedy, oftentimes, you go to fight, flight, freeze. You've had all that training. Freeze is a bad place to be, right? Freeze is a really bad place to be. And sometimes after a tragedy, when we support somebody, we can create victims by sending the message of, "Oh, you poor dear, you'll never be the same." And we do everything for them. Or we give them too much time off or too much time away. Lots of research in the insurance industry that identifies The sooner you can get somebody back to function, even if it's adapted function, the better for them as people and the better for your organization. Not only for the wolf, but also for the pack. So if you fall off a horse, get back on a pony as quick as possible. So how do we help people not focus on what they can't do and give them something, even if it's concrete, no-brainer, black and white, something that they can do? And the last one is hope, not platitudes, not hope on a rope. But physicians will tell you that patients who expect to get better are more likely to get better. So an expectation of recovery. Leadership that uses plural pronouns and future tense verbs. We will, we can, we shall. Key word was we. Oh boy, this stinks, but you know, I'm a Smith. Smiths, we deal with stuff like this. We'll figure it out. Oh yeah, this stuff always happens to us Joneses. Just our luck. Probably screw it up worse and it'll happen again. So leadership and community that has an identity of being tough enough to handle it. So it can be, we are the Hokies who will prevail. Boston strong. Forward together, forward. Colorado chooses hope. Sandy Hook chooses love, right? Some identity of we can get through this together. So self-care, one, know your stuff. When you've been trained, that takes some of the trauma away. When you stayed awake in training and you know your stuff. Otherwise, being afraid and then being afraid I don't know what to do is worse. And then it's basic stuff. Studies out recently about how 8 hours of sleep is negatively correlated with depression and with anxiety and dementia. Getting 8 hours of sleep now could be preventive for some of that. When your body chemistry is out of whack because of really high stress, especially traumatic stress, okay, what you eat is really important. Your gut's in a knot. Digestion is an adventure. Digestion is an adventure. Eat a little bit, frequently make it healthy stuff, and graze. Get some exercise. I know some of that isn't your option here, but get some exercise to sweat those poisons out. Release endorphins, which are nature's little happy pills. Have hobbies. Have a direct correlation between your effort and the outcome. One of the worst spots to be in is a sense of powerless that I work my tail off and it doesn't get anywhere. Right? Isn't that a lousy day? That's like the boogeyman chasing me and my feet are stuck in quicksand. I hate that nightmare. Practice your faith. Ask yourself those questions. Talk to people whose worldview you respect because you have to answer why. Be careful about putting too many poisons in your system. Okay? We love, when we're stressed, sugar, caffeine, drugs and alcohol, nicotine. Why? Because they work. Short term. Great short-term solutions. No dogmatic lecture. You know the risks going forward, right? Be careful. Take time, breathe. Don't screw it up worse. So I'm going to challenge you. What's your resilience plan? You operate according to protocols. You have plans. You have plans. You have plans. You have plans for the process of planning. What's your resilience plan? Don't just say, I'll let it happen. Yeah, you know how that works. Be intentional. Have a plan that you exercise. It's different for everybody. Different for everybody. I have my 5. So this works for me. Come up with your own. I try to do 5 things every day. Faith, family, friends, fitness, fun. I get up early to read and pray. Invest in my wife and kids. Try to hit the gym every day. Try to hit the gym every day. Friends are really important, and I'm choosy. And I love friends who make me laugh. Thank you for your service. Appreciate what you do.